What's going on, YouTube? Tom here. Today I wanted to discuss something a little closer to home, I guess, so to speak. And that was actually where I actually intended to start this channel about 6 months ago. And that was, what are my future plans for the Tacoma, the truck I'm driving now. If you're stopping in for the first time, this is my 2013 Tacoma Pre-Runner SR5. It is the 4-cylinder, not the V6, which a lot of people will ask me why did I get the 4-cylinder, and long story short, I didn't really have a choice on that. When we got this truck, it was to share between me and my dad, and my dad's kind of a cheapskate. He didn't want to get the V6, plus at the time he knew he didn't really trust me with horsepower, so I ended up getting the 4-cylinder. Now let me say this before anything else, if you're going to get a Tacoma, don't get the 4-cylinder. I strongly recommend the V6. As soon as I go to trade this truck in, I will be trading it in on a V6. However, that's not going to happen for a while now, because this truck's barely broken in. It's only got 30,000 miles on it. Why get a new truck when you got it's not even broken yet? So anyway, right now, mod-wise, the only real major mod I have on it is a K&N 63 series air charger intake. Now it's about $300 and it adds, they say 7.5 horsepower. I mean, I don't know if it adds that much or not. I have to see, but next mod I want to do is actually a little bit of a tune to the truck. I'm going to be doing that actually in the form of a MAF calibrator. Now, since I don't technically own my truck right now, I haven't been able to do that because my dad doesn't want me to, since it's also his truck. Now, I've actually got it, I ordered it, literally have it sitting at home collecting dust. I've yet to put it in. The idea behind that is it's going to lean out the fuel at the high range of RPMs, since most modern vehicles, you get above a certain RPM range, the engine runs really rich in order to prevent all the NOx emissions from being a thing. So the plan is to lean that out a little bit and get it a little bit more power. They claim a good 10 horsepower additional in that. But that's only in the high range of RPMs. It'd be nice because when I do get on the interstate with this truck, it is a little slow. It's one of the big reasons I wanted to put this air intake on, was I was so tired when you go to get on the interstate, you feel like you have no power in the 4-cylinder Tacoma. It's wheezing for power. There's very little in the high range. It's only 160 horsepower stock on this generation of Tacoma. And then on the new Tacoma, they decided just to keep the same engine all over again. They didn't even bother to do a new engine, which annoyed me a little bit because I thought, so now you've got all this technology in both the V6 Tacoma and now all the new Toyotas coming out, where you got the Atkinson cycle, the dual injection, dual VVTi. So many great things are going into it. And then on the Tacoma, it's got the same basic engine design since 2005. And I found out the block itself, basically the entire short block, goes back even further. It goes back to like the 80s almost. So it's antiquated design. It's time for Toyota to, if they're not going to replace it, they need to update it. It's not, the gas mileage is terrible on the new 4-cylinder Tacoma. For what it should be. Now, at the time we got this truck, 2013, it was still the 2nd-gen Tacoma. You bought a 4-cylinder because you did get better gas mileage. You bought the V6 because you either needed to haul a lot or you wanted more power. Now, that's why my dad decided we'd go ahead and get a 4-cylinder, because at the time we didn't haul a whole lot. Barely haul anything. I mean, we're the average pickup owners. The bed of this truck is empty 99% of the time, and maybe 1% it gets a small load, and then really, and it's got enough power. It's just, it does need more. Now they've got the great V6, at least on the EPA ratings, it gets better than the 4-cylinder. Which is actually kind of annoying, because it's like, well, so if I actually want to save fuel, I do have to spend a little more. But I've driven the V6 Tacoma. It's now 3 times I've driven a new one. Basically, I get convinced that much to try to trade my truck in, because they love seeing a nice low mileage truck like mine. I only have 30,000 miles on this truck. So they want it so they can get me a new one too. And of course they know giving me a new one is more money. And the V6 is a lot better to drive these days. The acceleration is just, it's much better. So anyway, so back to this truck, I guess. Now, I don't want to get rid of it because, like I said, 30,000 miles, it's barely broken in, it's paid for, so I don't really see why I should get a new truck just to have to pay off another one. And this truck, we owe no money on it. My dad pays cash for all his cars, this truck included, so... And if it's just going to go into my name, why bother? And yeah, the other big question I've been getting from people is when I tell them my plans to get the Mustang, I'll go ahead and put a link to that above announcing my plans for that. People say, well, why are you going to trade your truck in? You've got a perfectly good truck. My answer is I'm not trading it in. I'm going to run the truck as my daily driver from the future. At least the foreseeable future until this truck either A, something happens to it, like a major problem that's just not worth fixing, or B, it just gets worn out and I decide I need a new truck. Or C, one of the salesmen actually does convince me to get a new Tacoma, but... So either way, so this truck is going to be getting some more mods to try to make it a little more drivable in the future. Now, the K&N air intake definitely helped getting on the interstate, but it's still got a little bit of back pressure from the exhaust, so I'm definitely looking at doing a new header on this truck. Now they only make two for the Tacoma, 4-cylinder Tacoma that is, and that's it. On the 2TR FE, which is this engine, the second and third generation Tacoma's 4-cylinder engine. One of them is a Y-pipe design, which is basically, it looks almost like the standard header that's in it, or exhaust manifold, if that's what you want to call it. And that one, it's simply put a little bit more of a free-flowing version. It's bent tubing rather than cast, so it's a little bit smoother in design. It gets you a little bit extra power. The one I'm probably going to do is a little bit more aggressive one. It's an equal length header. It looks like a mass of pipes coming off of it just because it's... All the pipes now, the downpipes are all the same length, which helps equalize the back pressure. As for the rest of the exhaust, on a 4-cylinder vehicle, it's never really worth it to change exhaust for power reasons, just because it's just exhaust pipe. If you try to go to something bigger, you might actually make the back pressure worse, and it actually decreases power. And of course, the only real thing that you can benefit from is a resonator delete and maybe a high flow cat, which I'm probably going to consider the high flow cat, maybe, depending on money. Probably not, though, at the moment at least, just because there's no real good in it, and all it really does is it's hard to talk today. All it really does is increase noise, and that's part of why I don't want to do a resonator delete. This truck is my daily driver. I don't want it to be too ridiculously loud. I still want to be able to live with it. And then, as I pointed out, I am doing the MAF calibrator. That's probably the next thing I'm going to be doing. Once I do the exhaust, I do plan to tune that a little bit and try to get it running at its peak. Basically, that's that power right up in the high end, right where you need it so you can get on the interstate. But yeah, that's my plans for mechanical stuff on this truck. As for other stuff, I've been considering a lift kit. Probably not, just because it is a 4-cylinder and I don't want to go too big on the wheels and tires. If you go too big, you start running into problems where the truck just does not want to accelerate anymore. All that increase in mass, so... Very minimum, I'm thinking about a leveling kit on the front, just so it looks a little bit more aggressive, because I always dislike trucks just because the front ends always look like they're leaning down. But that's because when you have a truck, it's intended to have a load in the bed, so the suspension is always jacked up a little bit, or so it looks anyway. And of course, the bigger the truck you get, the more of a problem it is. So leveling kits on like a 2500 or 3500 type of truck, that's like, you need about like a 3-inch leveling kit. On the Tacoma, a 1-inch will do. So I've been looking at that, and that's the cheapest option, but suspension work in general is quite labor intensive, and I don't know if I'll have the time to do a lot of labor stuff. I am taking a job in September, early October. And as I've said, I do want to have the Mustang, so I don't want to start blowing a lot of money on a truck when I'm talking about running a second car. Now, part of me wanting to start a YouTube channel actually was I wanted to be able to afford the Mustang eventually, and also maybe some future mods on the truck, so we'll have to see. We'll see what I decide to do on the truck, what comes out, 'cause some stuff might just come out that I have to have. I'm known to say that a lot, where something just came out, I gotta have that. And as I said, there is always the option of getting a new Tacoma, the 2017, I think it's, well, 2016 and up body style, but there's always that option. Tacomas are definitely great vehicles, and I like to say I'm not brand partial when it comes to vehicles, but when it comes to my daily driver, I probably am going to have a Tacoma for as long as they actually are decent vehicles. If people I know always try to tell me, oh, so-and-so cousin's, buddy's, uncle's brother-in-law had some problem with their Tacoma, you probably shouldn't get one. I always think to myself, well, that's great, but I've literally never had major problems. Biggest problem I've ever had with my truck was the air conditioning, and then I also had an O2 sensor recall. That's it. And we live in Florida, where you can easily just delete your cat in order to solve that problem. AC, though, we can't solve that just by not having it. That was a hot summer. That was a legitimately very hot summer, because I was kind of reluctant to get that fixed. So, and recently I had to get new tires. If we're on the subject of Tacoma problems, this particular generation of Tacoma, at least 2013, and I know 2014, because that's what my dad has, they came with the Dunlop tires. They're actually not that great of tires. They went bald on me in like 27,000 miles, and my dad's truck has about just over 26,000, and his are bald, so he's in the same boat as I was, where you basically got to get new tires. And he says there's tread left, and I'm trying to tell him, Dad, the dealer's not ripping you off in that case. You really do need a new set of tires. I had one go flat on me just because it was terrible. They were terrible tires, and I grazed a curb, and that was all it took for the tire to go flat. There was also a little bit of dry rot, but not much, so if you do decide to get a Tacoma of this generation, and it has tires, I recommend standard tires. I recommend what the dealer told me, and that was we put Cooper tires on this truck instead, and so far they haven't had any problems. But new wheels and tires may be a thing in the future of the Tacoma. That was the first thing they wanted me to do, is they said, well, yeah, now's your time just to get new wheels entirely. And I said, no, I'll keep mine. I have the base Tacoma's cheap steel wheels, which I don't have a problem with. Some people hate the looks of them, but I like them. I've seen people spray paint them too, just like the flat black look or something along those lines. But either way, this Tacoma is going to get a small build in the future. Nothing too crazy, more or less just to improve the drivability of it. Just get a little bit more power where power is needed, because this truck really badly needs it. So either way, let me know in the comments below what you all think. Do y'all think are y'all excited to see a Tacoma build, or do you really think I should just give up and get a new truck? Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. I would love to grow my channel, and have a good day.